Hey guys, welcome back. It's been quite a while since I've made a video here. As usual, life's been busy, so we're skipping ahead in time quite a bit from the last video where I had just gotten the sound deadening out of the car at the time. So quite a bit has happened on the car since then. The holes in the floor pan here and over here are all fixed. I've got new sheet metal welded in. I don't know. Oh yeah, I can do a light. So we can kind of look here. Don't look too close. I haven't undercoated it yet, so I just rattle canned everything black afterwards. But everything is all welded up and good. And it's all seam sealed now, at least on the high points. The low points you don't seam seal because you need it for the water to run out if water gets inside. So it's supposed to be drainage holes, but both sides more or less look like that. I put heat shield on the exhaust, so you can kind of see the blanket in there. And also I added that flex joint in an attempt to try to cut down on vibrations in the car. So those two things are new, and that blanket goes all the way back there. So, and I have had a chance to drive the car a little bit since doing that, and it has made a huge difference to how much heat gets into the interior. Plus, let me get this dust off of me here because I spent some time trying to detail the interior on this car. So the driver's seat is together. Wow, you can see a lot of dust in the air. I can't see that, but the camera does. Anyway, the driver's seat is back together and done. This is the seat back from the passenger seat, which was in really good shape. You can see there's no holes in the bolster, and it's not even really thin. It's just slightly right there, but barely at all. And my wife stitched in this section of suede here, so that more or less finishes this seat, other than I need to steam clean it at some point to get rid of some of those water stains. Also, the fan is installed in here, and I hollowed out part of the foam. It's still solid on the front because I didn't want you to see where the vent holes were, but it does get airflow through it, which is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to actually trying that out this summer. Steering wheel is done. I think I had that all finished with the last video. I don't know if there's anywhere that I can actually show you, but the entire floor in this car is all dynamatted now. Actually, yeah, I think I can show you. Maybe. Yeah, you can just barely see the edge of it in there. But all that's Dynamat Extreme, so that should cut down on weight compared to the stock stuff, as well as not just give me noise reduction, but also it should help keep the heat out as well. Other things that I've gotten done, you can see that I did some repairs on the carpet, and it fits the car a lot better. I need to find floor mats for the front that are in better shape. This one's got a really thin spot. You can see it on the camera. It's not quite as noticeable in real life as it is on the camera, but yeah, it's not great. So at some point I'll try to find a new one. I'll keep that flash on, I guess, because it makes it a little easier to see. I got my oil temperature sensor finally working. It's the Haltech sensor, but for whatever reason, with the Haltech, they say it says to go by a voltage-based output from the sensor, and I could not make that work for the life of me. Well, I did some research. I found out that it's a Bosch sensor, which doesn't surprise me at all. And I went out to Bosch's website, and they had the same voltage definition for that sensor for the Haltech to read, but they also had a resistance-based one. And so I thought, oh, well, maybe it needs to be resistance-based. And sure enough, once I switched it over to resistance values instead of voltage values, that got it working. So finally got the oil temperature working, so all of my gauges on that Haltech gauge read accurately. Another thing that I have done here recently was that switch right there. That switch in Japan is for the parking pole, and I think I've talked about this before. The on the Japanese car, so it's right-hand drive, right? So this is the opposite corner. Well, if you're parallel parking, a little antenna would come up that you could see, and that would kind of give you an idea of where the edge of your car was to try to help you keep from curbing it. So that's pretty cool, but obviously we don't have that here, and this is a left-hand drive Evo console, which you know because it's got this cubby here, which actually I'm not convinced that it's necessarily an Evo console. It might be from a Chinese market, Liancell, I think, Liancell, however you pronounce that, which is basically the same car as the Mirage and the Lancer here. So, and the reason I say that is because it has that switch. The Evo's never had that. So I think this might be a Liancell lower kick panel, but regardless, they're really pretty rare and hard to come by. So when I got that and it had that switch on it, I was like, well, man, this is a cool switch. I should find something for this switch to do. So now it controls the anti-lag. So I can, the up arrow, because, up faster, that's the way that that works. So the up arrow is enable anti-lag, and then down is no anti-lag. So before it was on all the time based on engine load. Now it's switch and still based on engine load. So anything, if I do a pull and then come off the throttle really, really hard, the harder you come off the throttle, the more it anticipates your next shift, and it throws some pretty big fireballs. We were driving it at night, and I did that in a neighborhood, and it lit up all the houses around us for that split second. I was like, wow, okay, that threw a pretty big fireball. So, and then I got out of there, before anyone complained. But anyway, so that works now. Really, we haven't got the passenger seat done yet. Hannah is working on the lower piece for that seat right now, and then when she finishes that, I can assemble the seat, because the top piece is the last piece that goes on. And I think it went together pretty good. I mean, you can't really tell that it was ever taken apart, so yeah, I'm really, really, really happy with that. I may not even change seats. Like I was thinking about, well, just fix these for now, but with as good as the repairs have turned out, I may actually just hang on to these. So I don't actually mind having these patches here. It kind of, it makes them unique. Like, it's something that my wife did for me, so that makes it a little bit more special. But so we may just keep these, and I didn't mention this before, but we also stuffed foam in there. Hobby Lobby sells a little foam square. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it's like $6. And so we cut strips of the foam out. Well, she did, because she knows, fabric stuff. I don't know anything about that. She cut strips out and filled in where the foam was thin. And yeah, it's nice and cushiony. You can't feel the metal brace that's in here anymore through it, because that's what happens is when you slide in here, it crushes the foam over time, and then the metal bracing for the support here for your thighs pushes through, and you can feel it, and it's kind of awful. But yeah, this I don't feel it anymore at all. I wouldn't say it's like on par with a brand new seat, but it's a whole heck of a lot better than it was. So really happy with that. And then let's see, I've got a couple other things that I've been working on here. The my garage is getting cleaned up. It's not as clean as it was because I've been working on stuff, but I just finished this project. Well, almost. All that's left is I need to find bolts to fill these. I found this one, but I need to find all the rest of these because this is my spare Mirage rack. Now, I had never dealt with anything steering rack related prior to this, but turns out that, well, okay, so I did a rebuild on this rack, all new seals and everything. And to put it back together, and I was like, cool, now I've got a refreshed steering rack. And I put it together, I hooked the power steering up, and immediately the rack boot swelled up full of power steering fluid. And I was like, nice. So that didn't work. But, you know, not everything works out every time. I'm not really sure what went wrong. I mean, all the seals seemed good to me. Everything was fresh grease. Like, you know, I'm not some, doesn't know what he's doing mechanic, like, most of the time. And so I thought, well, I don't even know what's going wrong with this. So I gave up, and I was like, whatever, I'm not even going to mess with it. I'll just throw my other steering rack in. I knew that it didn't leak. It just had older seals. So I was like, whatever, let's just go with that. But now that I'm on the electric power steering, I pulled this rack out again, and I took it apart, and I depowered it. So where the seal was that sits between these, so how this works is when you turn the wheel, right, this turns, and then fluid comes out of one of these holes here. So like, let's say the rack's going to move this way. Well, that pushes all the fluid out and then around and then in this side so that it helps push the rack back and forth, right? That's where the power steering comes from. If you cut the seal off of the steering shaft in here, you're effectively depowering the rack. So what I've got in the car right now is I've still got these hard lines, but I've got this looped back on itself. So it's not power steering, but I still have to fight to push that air back and forth through the lines, right? When you remove that seal, that's a properly depowered rack. And I learned all of this stuff from the Miata guys because I also have a Miata. And once I learned how to do that, I was like, oh, well, perfect. Well, then I don't have to worry about any seals being slightly bad. And, there's no high pressure fluid in this anymore. So I just greased this shaft really, really good and depowered it. And all I've got left to do is fill these holes up so that, debris and stuff doesn't get in there, and put fancy bolts in it too, because, got to do that. But anyway, so yeah, that was a project that I just finished here recently. That should be ready to go in the car whenever. I'm not going to try to do that this year though, because I don't want to wreck the alignment that's on it. And I just don't see any reason to. I mean, the alignment on it is good. I don't have to fight the steering that bad. But yeah, probably this coming winter I'll put this in. And I'm glad that I didn't try to ditch power steering altogether, because let me tell you, the electric power steering in this is 100% necessary. I mean, these are 200 treadwear 235s, and I can turn the power steering off with that knob we put in, and it's tough to turn those tires even when you're rolling. I mean, my dad's got a 94 Civic DX. I guess it's an EJ2 coupe, and it was an air conditioning but non-power steering car from the factory. And I think that car had like 185 tires on it. Once you got rolling, no problem. Really easy to turn the wheel. This, no. Absolutely not. It would be miserable to try to live with that with no power steering. So yeah, I'm glad that we still have power steering. but it's nice to have the electric. And I took this car for its first drive to go top off the tank with E85 a couple of days ago, and it's great. Like, I'm so happy with how that has turned out. So, but anyway, so we've got another big update here. So if we come over here, ignore my not quite blown up but kind of blown up Subaru motor. What we have here, this is my intercooler. Oh, and by the way, I got a powder coating set up. I put this together here recently. So Harbor Freight blast cabinet and Harbor Freight powder coating gun, and yeah, a nice decently big toaster oven, so we can do our own powder coating here. But anyway, and I did this before Donut posted their DIY versus professional powder coating video. Very happy with the results of that, since I invested. But anyway, so yeah, intercooler right here, right? So this is something that I wanted to do because I didn't want to paint this until we're done trimming it. And in order to finish trimming it, I really wanted to get one of these. So this is an ETS 24-inch wide versus the 22-inch on the Driven fabrication intercooler. 24-inch wide, still a 3.5-inch core, same as the other one, but this is much wider. It fills the bumper up a whole lot better. Oh my goodness, it looks so much better. So obviously this didn't bolt on. I spent the last couple of nights putting all this together, so I had to decide what height I wanted the intercooler to be at first. I was able to use these factory bolt holes down here, just elongating the holes in the intercooler, and that worked. But then I realized, I'm like, no, I really want this to sit higher. So I did some measuring, found out that I wanted exactly 2 inches higher. So we drilled holes in the core support. I put riv nuts in, and then these are cable stop ferrules that are aluminum. They're solid. There's 2 of them. I had to shorten one on each side to get the right distance away to space this out, because you have to clear the fan over here, which you can see this is very close. The actual cable touches the intercooler, but it's just the shroud. The wires do not. So I think we should be safe there. And then also you have to clear the core support and the tow hook. So it's close, but it's solidly mounted. There's no flex in this at all, so it should have plenty of clearance. So I think we're good. But yeah, I had to custom make this, and these are 2-inch long M8 by 1.25 bolts. And then up here I used the bracket that ETS provided, and I just rebent it, and I flipped it upside down, and we made this aluminum block mount for the other intercooler forever ago, and it just happened to line up. So all I had to do was rebend this and then drill the hole in the right spot, and get some fancy hardware to replace the hex bolts that they provided. And yeah, that was it. No big deal. I also had to use a longer silicone boot over here, which I had to do on the other one as well. And then this doesn't fit the best. It touches the frame, but it's stainless steel, so I'm not super worried about it rubbing through. And there's plenty of clearance for that oil cooler line, even though it doesn't look like it from this angle. So this should be okay for now. On this other side, I wasn't able to make my custom intercooler pipe work at all. But again, it's okay. Like, I've been planning on replacing these stainless steel ones with aluminum, just because the stainless is so heavy. So for the meantime, what I did was I cut this back where I needed it cut, and then I got a Vibrant aluminum 45 here, and I cut it to length. And then my dad has a small bead roller that can do thin wall aluminum stuff. So this is bead rolled. This is not on this side, but it should be okay for now. So what I did was I just made this, bolted this up, and then bolted this up. I don't love it because I want as few of these couplers as I can deal with. I hate boost leaks and trying to find them and fix them all the time. And when you're pushing over 30 psi of boost, you get them a lot. So ultimately, I'm trying to move away from these, but I'm planning on making a new upper intercooler pipe and a new lower intercooler pipe probably this year. The only thing that I need to actually do that is a TIG welder. The rest of the stuff is fairly inexpensive, so that's probably going to happen this year now that I've got this intercooler. But today I'm going to be putting this back on and trimming out even more. I had to trim a bunch off of this to make it clear in the first place with the driven fab intercooler, but with this being wider, I need to come over here and trim probably about here, and the same over here. And then once this goes back on, then I should be able to start working on trimming the bumper for the last bit. And yeah, once the bumper's trimmed and we do a final test fit with it and the lip, that is just, you know, apparently super rare to have a decent condition factory lip, but gotta do more trimming on all of this stuff because you can see we've already trimmed quite a bit out to make it clear the intercooler. Once we do all of that, then I think we will finally be ready for paint. This is our first attempt at powder coating. We got decent results in some areas. It's really thin, as you can see. This was our first attempt, and I only wiped it down with water. I needed acetone, but I just wanted to get a feel for how the powder would lay. Our second attempt on a jar lid went much, much better. You can't really see that. It won't focus, but yeah, really good finish on that. And then I think this is, I know this is Illusion Blueberry from Prismatic Powders, and their Clear Vision clear coat on top. I think I'm gonna do my Brimbos on the Evo that color. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Made quite a bit of progress on the car over the last couple of weeks. And yeah, it's coming right along. I think. I don't know if I talked about changing my battery terminal setup up. So the a lot less cables coming off of these now than there used to be. This ground, because these ground to the chassis, it's got, so the small wire that's coming off of each of these is for the battery tender, because I keep this on a battery tender when I'm not using it. And the big wires coming off the ground, I've got two grounds. Oh wow, that's loose. I need to fix that. The two big wires coming off the ground come over here, and then all of the rest of my grounds bolt to that same lug. So that cleans the ground up a bunch. And then I've just got the one 0 gauge wire coming off the positive now that goes down into this bus bar box, and then everything for the positive goes off of that. So I just kind of wanted to clean this area up a little more. I still have more work to do here. Some things need to be tucked away. This is just a temporary thing so that I can show off the well, sometimes I need to replace the daytime running light strips, because I don't know if they can't handle the heat or what, but yeah, there you go. So if I hold the positive, it's weird that the camera's jumping, but that's kind of what I want to do with the turn signals eventually. But I'm going to have to take these headlights apart and replace this whole strip, because sometimes it doesn't work. Something is wrong with the wiring into the circuit board on that switch. I just can't handle heat. So now it just works when it wants to work. But regardless, I want to clean this cable mess up, and I think I'm actually going to relocate this battery since we don't have a power steering cooler down here anymore. I think I'm going to do the Chrysler thing, unfortunately, because I'm sorry if you're a Chrysler fan. I've worked on them enough to know that I'm not. But I think I'm going to put the battery right down in here and just clean my engine bay up a little bit. And I want to do that before I make my new intercooler pipe too, because that will both simplify and make it look better. But yeah, so yeah, lots of stuff going on. Lots of projects, lots of things happening here. So yeah, I really hope to have this bumper prepped and painted this year and on the car. I did a test fit of it earlier today, and just seeing, and the pictures are up on the Facebook page, and just seeing the bumper on the car with this intercooler, I am so ready to have that done. So yeah, that's the next project. I need to work on the intercooler pipes because I want to put alpha lock couplers on either side. I've got a demo one over here. This will be the center section. These things, if you've never seen them, look them up. There's a really cool YouTube video that talks about them. But I want to do one here, so that these can stay two separate pieces, and then one on the throttle body, and then of course one here. But I think I have to keep the silicone coupler on the turbo, but otherwise it'd be a ton of work to fit. But yeah, I think that'll be the plan. So if I can get started on this, and I might not even have to, because I think I'm going to put the coupler back away here so that it's not a bumper clearance problem. That way I don't have to trim for excess here. We'll just cut this off and then weld this tube straight here and then put the coupler over here. And we'll probably do that on both sides, so we're not fighting with clearance. But yeah, I've still got my work cut out for me on projects on this, but yeah, it's coming right along. So anyway, that's all I've got for you guys right now. Sorry it's been so long since I posted a video, but and sorry this one's so long, but yeah, it's coming right along. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys out this year. Alrighty, see you guys next time.